Clemson's in camp, and Dabo's talking up the Tigers. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down Clemson football. We got Morgan Thomas on the line from the Morgan Thomas Show. Morgan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. And Dabo is one of the more entertaining coaches, so I was quick to get to his post-game analysis or post-scrimmage analysis concerning what he sees out of his young Tigers. Anything in particular from that caught your ear as being beyond coach speak, which he's typically good for?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's hard to kind of decipher what Dabo Swinney will do or will say and what it really means, because especially in the springtime, he's the hype man. He wants to talk about all the things that are great. And so as a reporter or an analyst, it's kind of difficult to get into what he really means. But, we know that they're trying to get healthy. There's a couple of players that had some surgery, like Malcolm Green, and some players that had been dealing with some COVID protocols, specifically on the offensive line, that they're getting healthy and trying to get in more reps. It's helping some of those guys that are maybe second string or third string come up and get some more reps and practice. But the biggest question mark heading into the spring is really not so much on defense, because they returned almost everyone, at least initially returned almost everyone. And then on offense, it was the complete opposite. There's a lot of rebuilding as far as, no more Trevor Lawrence, no more Travis Etienne, no more Cornell Powell or Amari Rogers. So getting those players that could be the next superstars on the offensive side is the big question. A lot of freshmen, though, to speak about and to brag on. But, Clemson is also tough in that sense that, you have to earn your right to get your playing time. It's not always easy going even if you're a 5-star to just get playing time immediately.
Talking Clemson football here. We've got Morgan Thomas on the line. We encourage you to head on over to his channel, The Morgan Thomas Show. You see it down there on the banner. Please like the videos, share the videos out on social media, and subscribe right here. Hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. So you touched upon the offensive line. I would say, as an outsider who just watches the big games, sees Clemson play 6 or 7 times a year, knows the narratives, knows the personnel pretty well, but not the complete grind, is that while between 2011 and 2015, there was just a ramp up in recruiting and elite status nearly in every position, the offensive line has maybe lagged a little bit behind the other positional units, and that even carries into this season in regards to some concerns we saw last year.
Yeah, I think that it's been addressed, but I think that there was a gap there. There were a couple of years in 2017, 2016, where you would want those guys to have maybe stayed for their final year, maybe added on a graduate year, and they did it. And so there was really a lack of experience and development at the offensive line, which is a difficult position. These guys, when you look at them on film, at high school level, if they're the biggest dude in that county, they're playing left tackle and they're bowling people over. Well, that's not the way it is when you get into even the ACC or, like you were mentioning, in the big time college playoff environment. That's not the way it is. You're not just going to play left tackle and bowl people over. You've got to maybe convert to a different position and learn those techniques. It's difficult to do for these young guys. They had a huge class that are now sophomores. Walker Parks is one that we hope to see more of. Mason Trotter, Taquan Johnson, Hunter Rayburn, those kind of guys that we'd like to see their names jump up a little bit more. But yeah, the young guys got to take over, because Jackson Carman is gone, along with Trevor Lawrence. They both kind of were really good friends, and so the left tackle is gone. They've got to figure out who's going to be that guy. And really, I told my guys on my show and the people that watch the show over on the Morgan Thomas Show channel, there's smoke. When there's smoke, there's fire in the ACC. Everybody likes to pick on the ACC being weaker or more mediocre than other conferences. And if you have problems in the ACC with something, specifically Clemson had problems running the ball consistently, there's smoke, there's fire. At first it was like, oh, it's not a big deal. They're going to get better. Just wait. Clemson's going to get better. November time, it's going to get better. That didn't happen. Travis Etienne struggled to even get over 100 yards in many games. And then, as you saw in the playoffs, had a very difficult time. And as an offensive coordinator, he gets all the flack. Tony Elliott got all the, negative publicity from that, or negative feedback from the fans on Twitter. But it's really difficult as an offensive coordinator when you know your offensive line is struggling bad. And Matt Bockhorst and some other guys have come out and said, hey, we're going to turn this around, and they've got to do it. I mean, it's not acceptable doing what they did last year. A team has to be able to run the ball consistently. It's just unfortunate that such a great player like Travis Etienne returned, and that's what happened last year.
Yeah, I think when you see Travis Etienne posting the kind of numbers that he did for his first few years, which were amongst the best in the history of the game when it comes to yards per carry. I know that there was at one point he was ranking number 1 or 2 in the history of college football in yards per carry. Then you see that drop like 2.5 yards to about 5.4 yards, I think, last year. It's probably not him. It's the offensive line. He didn't become a worse running back from season to season. It's offensive line issues and getting the ball in some space there. Speaking of which, let's turn to the running backs. You and everybody else on the Clemson side, very excited about a couple incoming freshmen. I think people forget about the all-important role of pass blocking, and that's why a lot of young running backs can't get on the field, is because you got to protect that quarterback, and that's not tied to a statistic. Your thoughts about Shipley and Maffa in regards to what you've heard, what you've seen, video from high school and so forth?
Yeah, those two guys obviously are already getting a bunch of photograph opportunities. Will Shipley looks huge. Phil Maffa looks huge, which we knew these two guys came from really good high schools in their respective states of Georgia and North Carolina. So we knew that they were going to be coming in and possibly jump on the scene quickly. I'm still looking forward to see what Chez Mellusi can do. And Lynn-J Dixon, this is his opportunity. But as you mentioned, Lynn-J has been one of those guys that is not built like Travis Etienne, not built like Mellusi or Maffa or Shipley even. I don't know if Dixon can step up and be the every down guy or even the 3-down guy. I don't know. He is kind of more of your pop it to the outside guy, but he was a welcome change last year because everybody focused so much on Travis Etienne when he was on the field that when Lynn-J Dixon got on the field, got his opportunity, he did well. And he did better yards per carry, I believe, at the end of the season overall. But the problem is that pass blocking, as you mentioned. DJ Uiagalelei is going to want to pass the ball. He needs to pass the ball. He's so great. You can see already with the glimpse from the Notre Dame game. So you got to be able to practice or be able to pass protect for him. I don't know if Lynn-J Dixon can do that. We will see. It's his opportunity now to take it or lose it. But yeah, Phil Maffa, Will Shipley. When you get these guys, you can't hold them back. So Clemson's got to do something. I know Dabo likes to bring people along and develop them, but you can't hold them back. And it's definitely an opportunity now because, like I said, the offense is really rebuilding or reloading, I guess what you could say.
The voice of college football, talking Tigers, as we often do, this time for the first time with Morgan Thomas. Please check out his channel there, the Morgan Thomas Show, right here on YouTube. All right. Only 4 hard commits for 2022. Dabo and the boys will certainly crank it up on the recruiting trail here for the rest of the year, heading toward December. But a huge commitment coming in from quarterback, the 5th-rated pro-style quarterback out of Austin, Texas, Kade Klubnik.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Kade a lot. He's a gamer. I mean, he's from Austin, Texas. That Westlake High School, I believe, last year was in the top 10 ranked overall in the nation for high school. So he's definitely playing at a high level. He's definitely playing at a high profile school there in Texas. So being a quarterback, also named MVP of the championship game, being a quarterback that can lead his team to 14, 13 wins each season, especially as a sophomore is amazing. But again, he's a gamer. He's not your typical Trevor Lawrence by any means, but he's somebody who can sit in the pocket and find open guys, but he's not afraid to use his feet, and he feels that pressure, and he's able to make things happen. He can beat you with his legs. He can beat you with his arm. That was one big debate we had on our show recently about, is he someone who should be qualified as a dual threat quarterback instead of a pro-style quarterback? Because really, Trevor Lawrence is more of we believe Trevor Lawrence DJ is more of the pro-style guys. But Kade is one of those guys you kind of see hints of maybe a Tim Tebow type, where he likes to run it around and use his power in some situations. So I think he does have a better arm for those who're scared about the Tebow comment. But yeah, 6'2", 186, and like I said, very close. A lot of places have him really close as a 5-star guy. When you look at his film, like I said, even in the playoffs, he's got big plays with his arm and turns around and does big plays with his legs. So really excited.
And again, the metrics on Klubnik at 6'2.5", 186, fifth rated pro style quarterback in the nation. This is according to 247 Sports Composite. Number 74 overall player, regardless of position. That's very high up the ranks. 14th rated player in the state of Texas overall. Clemson looking, of course, to continue the legacy at wide receiver. Adam Randall comes in from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, 22 rated at his position at 6'3", big frame.
Yeah, I was looking up him recently as well. Obviously recruited by Tyler Gresham, who's a guy who's taken over that wide receiver spot after Jeff Scott left for the Bulls in South Florida. Myrtle Beach High School is a pretty good school in the state here as well. And his quarterback last year, or not last season, but before COVID, the season before that, was Luke Doty, who is a quarterback at South Carolina now. So there's a little bit of some interstate rivalry going on there. He was able to shine with that great quarterback there, but still continued what he was doing into this season. I like his film a lot. He does have a lot of really big plays between the 20s. I don't see a lot of big plays in the red zone. So I'd like to see, especially a guy that's 6'3". If you look at that 24/7 composite ranking, he's actually one of the higher. If you remove anybody below 6'3", he's actually one of the higher ones up, I believe 2 or 3 on that list. So as far as a big man, he's pretty high up on the national rankings for wide receivers. So taking out all those little wide receivers out there, there's more slot guys, I guess you could say, not to disrespect them in any way, because I'm a short guy myself. But yeah, I mean, over 1,000 yards consistently, familiar with the spread. He's familiar moving around different positions. I like to see a guy who's familiar with wide receiver screens, but also familiar with blocking. So I think he will be somebody who can fit in really quickly, and just continue wide receiver U. Clemson had some injuries to deal with last year, so it didn't feel like it was wide receiver U anymore, but they had a bunch of guys who were high-level 4-star, 5-star guys that were just, unfortunately, on the sideline, like Justin Ross and Joseph Ngata. Those guys seem to be getting healthier, and throw him in once they get older, throw him into next season. I think he could fit in very quickly as well because of that experience and that type of offense that will just transition so easily.
Morgan Thomas with the personnel breakdown for us about a couple weeks into camp there at Clemson. You can join him and the rest of the crew there at the Morgan Thomas Show on YouTube. Morgan, we appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, Mark, I appreciate it. I look forward, hopefully, to getting back on here again.